Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Tuesday edition of Palmetto Sports Daily. Rick Henry in Columbia. We have Teagan Brown in Myrtle Beach, Ella Grogan in Greenville, as we're talking all sports all the time here in the Palmetto State. And we're going to tip it off with some Gamecock women's basketball. They are going to tip off in the NCAA Tournament Saturday at 1 o'clock at the Colonial Life Arena against the winner of the first four game between Samford and Southern. They're going to hit the court on Thursday night. And the Gamecocks, they have now, they are looking to get back to the Final Four for the 10th time under head coach Don Staley. And, this is their 10th time as a number one seed. And 7 times they have advanced to the Final Four as a number one seed. So you got some people on the team with plenty of experience, like Tournament Tessa Johnson, Raven Johnson right there. They have been to the tournament every year, to the Final Four every year of their careers. And then you have freshmen like Isla McDowell, Agatha McKeer, and Alicia Tornabees. They're going through this for the first time. And so I asked Coach Staley, how does she prepare the youngsters for the big dance?
Well, I think that the key to getting the young players ready is the practice in such a way. Like you actually, practice with, tighter reins. Like you got to execute in these moments because it's do or die. And as long as we can continue to give them experience in that way. But I thought they've done the hard part, which is they've grown, they've developed, and I do think they can make an impact and will make an impact for our team in this tournament.
I think they told us it's the hardest part of the chapter because it's win or go home. There's no do-overs. There's no, we're going to get them next time. It's like you have to win. So I think them pouring into us and just like having that experience has been really good.
Yeah, 10 times as the number one seed. They are the number one seed in the Sacramento 4 Regional. And so we'll see how far the Gamecock women can advance. And again, really looking forward to a second round matchup either between Clemson or Southern Cal.
Well, Rick, a team that is quite familiar with having some people who have never experienced March Madness is going to be over in the men's bracket. My Furman Paladins, we always talk about unbiased reporting here on Palmetto Sports Daily and at Fox Carolina, but that's going out the window for me. My Furman Paladins are making it to March Madness for just the second time since 1980, twice now under Bob Ritchie. Now, we got to see their amazing celebration where they saw their seeding, saw their selection. A little bit of a tough one. They're going to be facing UConn. Obviously, UConn has won the national championship 2 out of the past 3 years. But that's something that Bob Ritchie has actually kind of kept his eye on. Bob said that he picks 1 or 2 teams every single year to watch and gain inspiration from, and this year just so happened to be UConn. So his studies might be paying off in a little bit of a different way, and here's him on how those studies are going to come into play.
Got a national opponent, got a program that we really respect and have watched and have studied, and maybe even run a play or two that they've utilized through the years, and might call it Connecticut and Connecticut too. But Coach Hurley is an unbelievable coach, and he's built an unbelievable program in UConn, and again, one that we've admired from afar, and just looking forward to the challenge.
Just praised the UConn head coach and spoken so highly of him, and talked about how he wrote an incredible book. And the biggest thing that Bob Ritchie took away from it was that the scariest moment for him wasn't when he was coaching those national championships. It's when he was actually coaching a D2 college years ago. So really cool to see that connection. I'm sure Bob Ritchie is really looking forward to meeting him. This is going to be a late one for the Furman Paladins. They have a motto called Dins After Dark, so that one's going to be coming into play for them. 10 p.m. in Philadelphia. I'm hopping on a flight tomorrow with the team to get up there and get prepared.
Yeah, I mean, it's an exciting time. Again, your team, Furman, the Paladins. I'm just curious, what you think of this matchup, kind of what you expect to see from them. I'm sure that a lot of fans looking at the bracket probably are not going to choose Furman over UConn. So just how do you think this one's going to turn out?
I'll tell you what, Teagan, I am picking Furman over UConn, taking them to the Elite Eight, but let's talk about the first matchup first of all. So here's my thoughts. Furman is ranked in the top 5 for the tallest teams in the bracket. So I think this is a team that's going to be very, very underrated. What we saw throughout this team in this first couple months was that they were actually dealing with a lot of injuries. At one point, I went to one of their games. They had one sub on the bench on a D1 basketball game. And it felt like kind of at the end that all things came right together. All the injuries seemed to heal at the same time. And then all of a sudden they were beating the number 1 seed as the 6th seed in the SoCon tournament when they beat ETSU. So I think they're very underrated simply because people haven't fully seen them in action until recently. So obviously going to be a huge matchup for them. But I think in terms of their size, having 2 starters who are both 6'11" is really, really going to help them against a really big UConn team. All right, I think we are going to toss it into a break now. We'll be back with lots more to come, including our picks in March Madness.
Welcome back into Palmetto Sports Daily. Of course, this is the time of year to talk lots of basketball. I'm sure all of you have your brackets that I'm sure you don't think will be busted, but they 100% will. I go through this every year, and I'm sure many of you will too. But let's talk a little bit of football as Coastal Carolina continues spring ball. They are in week 2 of this time of year, and they actually put on pads today for the very first time because what they really want to focus on this year is being physical. And to remind everybody out there, Coastal Carolina, of course, under a brand new coaching staff this year, head coach Ryan Beard. And then we also got to talk to the defensive coordinator, L.D. Scott, who came over with Beard from his previous program at Missouri State. So we got to chat with him today about his goals, about his defensive philosophy. And he said that's what they want to focus on. They want to focus on being physical. They want to focus on tackling right now. He wants to see what these guys are capable of. They don't want to take spring practice, super slow and figure out closer to the season what they're capable of. They want to figure it out now.
Yeah, I think we want to be very structured in how much we do it because we want to take care of our guys, but you have to know if guys can tackle. This game is big. The very first defensive meeting we had as a unit, all we talked about was tackling and leverage. I don't know how well we tackle unless we actually tackle people. And our backs need to know that too. Our guys, our running backs, our tight ends, all those guys, they got to get used to being tackled. We have to be able to go for the ball. They have to secure the ball. And we got to play football.
That's what they're going to focus on. They're going to focus on all that during spring practice. Of course, like I said, they're in week 2. We also had the chance this morning to catch up with a couple of the veterans on this team, and there are not many. This roster went through a lot of turnover, of course, with the departure, the firing of Tim Beck, and a lot of players transferring out because of that, transferring out to other programs. But Robbie Washington, one of the wide receivers on the team, we got to chat with him this morning about why he stayed, and he just talked a lot about how Ryan Beard was just different, that he was charismatic. As soon as he spoke to him on the phone, he knew that this was a guy that he wanted to play for. Robbie talked about the receiver room and how strong they are this year, how good they are at running their drills and getting out there and being fast. He also talked about the quarterback room and just saying that there's really not a bad thing to say about those guys in there. But Rick, I know that we've also got some pro day to talk about over at USC.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite days of the spring when the former players come back and perform in front of the NFL scouts as they try to make their way onto NFL rosters. 16 former Gamecocks showed up at the indoor practice facility and had plenty of NFL scouts on hand, timing and measuring every move. And I love the way how after someone goes through a drill, the scouts get together and make sure they've got the accurate time. So head coach Shane Beamer watching some of his guys give it their all, like this guy right here, DQ Smith. former defensive back. He was a quarterback in high school at Spring Valley, but started his freshman year in the secondary. And today he bench pressed 225 pounds 22 times, which is quite impressive for a defensive back. Here's DQ on his pro day.
Oh yeah. That was my goal to get over 20. I finally did that. So just it was exceptional for me. Today went pretty smooth. The jitters. You had them at the beginning, but after you do the vert and you bench press, you're ready to ride after that.
Football always been my main goal, so even coming to college like this, I treated it like a job. Like, even with school and everything, with now going into the league, I won't have school, so I'm just going to treat it even more seriously and more. I can spend more time on it and really fall in love with it even more. So
really just staying patient, you want to get to that draft day, but it takes steps. You have to go through, like today, pro day. I've been training for 2 months, so it's just a waiting game, but I put everything in God's hands, so I just believe the process.
Yeah, pro day, just another step in the process of making it to the league and fulfilling your dream. And I asked some of the guys, is it even more special when you get to have a pro day at your school to perform in front of the NFL scouts? And they say it certainly is, because they know they're getting closer to realizing that lifelong dream.
I got to imagine that it is so special to come back to your alma mater, although you probably just left a couple months ago, just to perform. I kind of thought about that when Clemson had their pro day a couple days ago, just how beneficial it is, especially on an offensive standpoint, to watch Cade Klubnik throw passes to Antonio Williams, someone who's so familiar with, really has to help in the sense of just having that confidence and security in who you're getting the ball to. So I love that they do that, and love that they get to do it under their own lights.
All right, that's going to wrap up this segment of Palmetto Sports Daily. We'll be right back after a brief timeout.
Welcome back into Palmetto Sports Daily. We've talked basketball, we've talked football. Now let's talk some indoor track and field. Some really, really exciting stuff coming out of Clemson. Gladys Shepyedich just broke history, not just at Clemson, but all across the board. She set school records this year alone for the 600 meter and the 800 meter. And this past weekend, she scored the second fastest time in the 800 in NCAA history. Not just Clemson history, NCAA history, a 1.58, winning that indoor national title, becoming the 12th national champion from Clemson. It was absolutely amazing. And actually, just a couple weeks ago, our Palmetto Sports anchor, Caroline Soro, sat down with her and many of the Clemson indoor track and field athletes, which you can watch her whole story on our website. But she specifically sat down with Gladys about this moment. She said, "I'm not looking to break the records. Of course, the records are great. What I'm after is a national title," and she went and got it. Let's hear from her.
Breaking record every time is just like believing in myself, believing in my practice, believing in my coach, and like also my teammates. Yeah, and I mean, I've been saying I want to run a record for Clemson, but at the same time, I'm like, I want to win NCAAs because I can't be just breaking records without a title, you know what I mean?
Well, just a huge congratulations to her and just Clemson indoor track as a whole. They had a great showing at the national championship. I mean, we were talking in the break, I am no runner. The athleticism that is required to run at this speed, Teagan, I mean, just insane.
I mean, it's crazy. I can't even imagine going out there trying to run that fast. I can't even imagine standing there and watching her accomplish that feat. That is just so cool. Huge congratulations to her. And yeah, like you said, she wasn't looking to just break Clemson's record or anything like that. Obviously, she did that pretty easily. But, I mean, what an amazing feat, Rick.
It is. You have to give a tip of the cap to anyone who can win a national championship, especially as something in an event that is really just grueling, especially to the normal folks like me. man, just trying to build up that much speed and endurance and stamina. So very impressive, and congratulations to her.
Well, Nick was just chiming in there. Producer Nick said he agrees that I don't think any of us could even compete at that level, but we are going to compete about our March Madness bracket selections coming up next here on Palmetto Sports Daily.
Welcome into Palmetto Sports Daily. It's the best time of year. It's March Madness. Everybody's making their brackets, whether you make one or you make 100. We were just talking, one of our behind-the-scenes folks apparently made 50, 25 for women and 25 for men. If you want to do that, you do that. That's cool. But we're going to talk our brackets, and depending how many we make. But guys, one of the first things I think we should chat about, upsets. What do you have in your bracket? What is the biggest one? Rick, we'll start with you.
Okay, well, first of all, I have to tell you that this is way too early in the process for me because I don't get around to making my brackets until like the night before. You know, I'll marinate over it for a while and then I'll go to town. 2 brackets, one loaded with upsets, and a more serious bracket on, hey, got to play it safe so I can win the pot. But my early upset is going to be VCU, Virginia Commonwealth, over UNC, North Carolina. Why? Because we have a big North Carolina fan here who tries to convince himself every year that they're going to win the national championship, while I'm telling him they're going to get blown out. So the sooner North Carolina is eliminated, the more fun I can make of Ronald Hennigan and tease him. So that's my upset that I really want to see happen.
I actually very much so agree with you, Rick. That is one that I also selected to happen in both of my brackets. I do the same. I have one with major upsets. I have one that I take a little bit more seriously that we use in our Fox Carolina chat. I have a reputation to uphold here as a sports reporter. It's got to keep it a little tame, but I will tell you what. I've got UNC UNC losing in that first round in both brackets. I also, of course, my answer is obvious. I have Furman winning in the first round, second round, third round, making it to the Elite Eight. I don't have them beating Duke, but I got to take my Paladins all the way.
You know, I totally get it, Ella. There are definitely some teams on here with some personal connections I would love to choose for that reason. However, my upset also includes UNC, but I have it in the second round. I have UNC beating Illinois, not a major upset, but a 6 seed and a 3 seed. I just really like what I've seen from UNC defensively this year. I think that they could have been even more dominant in the ACC. I think they just had a couple of issues throughout the season, but I see that upset happening. An upset that I would love to see happen, but I know there's no way it ever would, is Siena over Duke. For those of you who don't know, Siena is a smaller school in New York. The current head coach there is Jerry McNamara, former Syracuse basketball player, won in the 2003 championship with them. I would love to see it happen. It's not going to. However, like we were saying earlier, if you have multiple brackets like me, you might have a mascot bracket. And I do, in fact, have them winning my mascot bracket because they have a live dog as their mascot. He's really cute if you've seen him on Twitter or anywhere else. Ella, is that something you do? Do you make a mascot bracket?
I personally don't make the mascot bracket, but Teagan, do you have them winning the whole thing? I just want to clarify.
Yeah, I do. In my mascot bracket, yes. Yeah, they win the entire thing in my mascot bracket.
I love it. See, I don't pick based on mascots. You do. I love that. My sister does that every single year, and I'll tell you what, she wins our family bracket almost every single year. It's infuriating. I'm studying field goal percentages. I'm doing everything I can, but she wins almost every single year. Moving on to our final 4 selections, I think, Rick, I'll have you add yours in after mine, but real quick, I'm going Duke, Houston, Arkansas, Michigan. As an Ohio State fan, it hurts me, but I think Michigan's just too good. Rick?
Okay, a couple of observations here. Teagan, a mascot bracket. I've never heard of a mascot bracket, so I'm learning something new.
What?
And
oh my goodness. Yeah, it's great.
yeah, and Ella, why stop with the Elite Eight for Furman? Why not have them winning it all? Go all in. Okay, here's my final four.
That's their motto.
Okay, my final four. I've got Duke, Houston, Arizona, and Iowa State, with Arizona winning it all. Yeah, so I really like Houston to come out of that region over Florida. And Arizona, I just have a feeling that it is their time. But like I said, I don't get serious about getting my brackets together until like Thursday. So my picks could be all different. But I like what I have here.
Yeah, no, that's a totally respectable Final Four, and I get what you mean with the brackets. You know, I made a bracket right before our show today just to determine my Final Four and who I would chat about, which I'll share in a second. But also, I am sure that later today I will be making many more brackets, some based on vibes, some actually serious. But my Final Four, I've got Houston, Arizona, Alabama, and Duke. I have Duke taking it all, but I think that this is a year for Alabama where they can go even further. I know the past few years they've gotten pretty deep into the bracket and just haven't been able to finish out, but I think they'll make it there this year to the Final Four. Obviously, we're going to keep our eyes on our brackets, other brackets. We'll have to see how our co-anchors on the show, like Kevin, do their brackets, and we'll have to keep you guys updated on that. But we'll also have to talk about women's brackets on the show coming up later this week. But for now, that's going to do it for us all here today. We hope you have a great Tuesday. We'll see you tomorrow.